Welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to share with you, as requested, my Predaplant deck profile, or as I like to call it, Super Poly the deck. This is pretty much the deck that Super Poly feel the most at home with for me, and I think it's a pretty cool archetype. Now, in my opinion, there's still room of improvements in this list for me specifically, so would like to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. What should I change, or things that you have to suggest for me? But I really enjoy playing this deck, and I think it's really fun. But before we'll jump right into the video itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments down below, like I say, what you think, and give a like if you enjoyed. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video itself. Alright, so jumping right into the list itself, we're going to start things off with the Predaplant monsters, of course, and the Predaplant monsters that we run are the following 10. The 3 Orphoscorpio, obviously, the 3 Cercinyant, the double Klimasandu, the 1 Darlantonia Cobra, and then the 1 Hydra. These are the 10 Predaplant monsters that I decided to run. Originally I wanted to run like 11, 12, but I realized that some of these names are not really the best thing in the world, and these 10 are all I need, plus because they have the 3 Lawnfire Blossom that counts as 13 monsters, which is quite enough. Now in the case of the monsters themselves, Orphoscorpio is basically the best card in your deck. You discard any monster from your hand and then you special summon any Predaplant monster directly from your deck, which is most of the time is going to be Darlantonia Cobra turn 1, unless of course you draw into it. And Darlantonia Cobra effect is that basically it search a fusion or a polymerization spell if you summon it by the effect of a monster, Predaplant monster. So you're able to search once per duel any fusion or polymerization spell, which is pretty nice. It's unfortunately sometimes, like I said, you draw into it sometimes, or you have some particular issues. Sometimes you don't really need it, but it's really great that it's able to search any polymerization spell. And then the other option that you're mostly going to summon with Orphoscorpio is Klimasandu, because Klimasandu is ridiculously nice. It's a fusion spell on leg. It's able to fusion summon to any dark fusion monster, and monsters with Predaplant counters or Predap counters are treated as dark when you use them as fusion material if you use him, because he able to take monsters that your opponent control with Predap counters and use them as fusion material, and because they're treated as dark, you're able to summon any one of your X-Spec monsters, which is really cool. Then we have Hydra, which is a reverse kaiju, I guess. You have a opponent monster with a Predator counter, you're able to get rid of it and summon this. This is also a nice effect, I guess, for what are called, like, debuffing an opponent monster, or, like, reducing an opponent monster by 800 attack, I believe, or 500, I don't remember, 500. And it's nice. You don't really use it for that. You mostly just use this if it's in your graveyard and you continue for the grind game. This is what you do with it. It's basically a reverse kaiju for a monster with Predaplant counters, which is pretty cool. Then Cercinyant is probably the most debatable card, and it's really weird for some people probably if I'm running it at 3, but I will explain for people who think that this card is not really the best. This card is actually one of the cards that kind of just saves me most of the time, because this deck is not the best thing in the world. And you know already the most annoying combo against, OTK breaking your boards with an access code, if they're able to, and then OTK you after breaking your entire board by, like, using his effect to just wipe up your entire monster lineup because of the monsters that they have in the graveyard, Link monsters. So Cercinyant kind of supposed to help you deal with that, because even if they're attacking you directly, Cercinyant will special summon itself from the hand and prevent your opponent access code to OTK you, which is pretty cool. Or even if, like, you only prevent one of their monsters to attack, you're still able sometimes to prevent the OTKs because they think that you have nothing, which is pretty nice. It also is a searcher when it's sent from the field to the graveyard by a card effect or destroyed by battle. You're able to search any Predap cards that you want to. I wish it was also from the hand. I wish it was also, like, fusion summon from this card from the hand. You were able to do this just like any Shadow monster. But unfortunately, it's not like that. Still, it's a nice, interesting hand trap that kind of, like, help you deal with battle, which is one of the weaknesses for some particular decks, especially dealing with decks that can bring an access code and just OTK you if you have nothing left. So this is able to, like, give you the ability to deal with that, which I like quite a bit. But that does it for the Predaplant monsters. Now for the rest of the engine, or should I say the other engine of the deck, we have few small engines, which are the 3 Lawnfire Blossom, which is, the 3 names of every plant in your deck. The 3 Aegium Chain because it's the best discard in your entire deck. The 1 Aegium Sabers because we search this which patch works, because this search patch work, and that's search a polymerization and a gym monster, and the one that we search most of the time is Aegium Sabers. And then the 1 Ancient Cloak and 1 Silent Boots for Rusty Bardiche Engine. I don't really think I need to explain these that much. These are just really, really good. And also, what's really cool about this, as you will see in the first combo that I'm going to show you, is that Sabers is able to just fix your hand if you open up with one of these, because Sabers is able to put a card from your hand on top of your deck, and that's where you can fix your PK engine sometimes, which is pretty nice. So I like this card even more here, more than you realize. And yeah, these are great. They're giving you the 2 negates of Fog Blades or the extension of Shade Brigandine. And then we have the Search for Patchworks, which is awesome, and the 3 copies, like I said, of any plant in your deck. But that does it for those. And then for the hand traps, we only have place for 3, unfortunately, which is 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and can be any other hand trap of your choice. I just decided to go with these 3. Because it's the most common hand trap. You can also, if you have the money for it, go with something like a Crossout Designator and then like cut 1 or 2 cards and run like, targets for hand traps as well. That can also be used as a hand trap if you draw into them or just help your board deal with some particular stuff. But I don't have the money for a Crossout, so I'm not going to spend on that. If you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. You don't have to run it. You don't have to force yourself. But that's pretty much does it for the monsters. Now we'll move on into the spells. And for the spells, we have first the double copies of Predapractice, the double copies of Patchwork, and the double copies of Polymerization. This is the lineup of, Patchwork, Practice, and Poly that you need. 2 Poly is more than enough. Patchwork, you mostly want to try to only activate once per duel anyway. If you're able to activate the second one, that's cool, but most of the time it's only going to happen once regardless. So, you only need 2 copies. Polymerization is a great card, but you don't really need it that much, unlike decks like, what are called? Fluffles. Sometimes I do miss the third, but it's pretty rare, so, because of Klimasandu, so, 2 poly is enough. And then Predapractice is a card that does lock you into Predaplants, but it does able to special summon them from the hand and search another one. So sometimes in some of your combos, which as you see, when I'm going to demonstrate in the third combo, that you are on need to do that to just lock yourself into fusions and still able to combo off in a very good end board, but you lock yourself into fusions, you sometimes have to do that. But that does it for those, so these are pretty important as well. And then for the next cards, the fusion spells, Super Poly, Ultra Poly, and Instant Fusion. These are kind of like the rest of your fusions department. Super Poly is a card that help you break boards going second, or even if you need to, you can search this as a follow-up card for next turn, which is really cool. Ultra Poly is a great card. You're basically using this turn 1. It's a card that's just giving you so much advantage in this deck. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm actually, if there are other decks that can able to search this, I might actually play them in, because this card is really underrated, and it's a very, very good card. And then we have Instant Fusion because we're able to search it, and it's also a nice way to prevent hand traps from annoying us, which things like Millennium Ice restrict, which is pretty nice. And then for your one-off spells, 1 Predarunning, 1 Predaponics, and 1 Cold by the Grave. Predaponics is sometimes a card that I don't really think I needed that much, but it's more than more proving itself over and over again, because the card is sometimes just necessary. With your Predaplant monsters, you're able to link them off into something, and then you just need another name for your Jasmine or something. You summon a monster back, you tribute it with Jasmine effect, and then you get whatever you need from your deck, which is pretty cool. Cold by the Grave doesn't really need any explanation, and Predarunning is just a monster reborn for your Predator plants, or should I say, premature burial for your Predator plants, which is pretty nice. And then for the traps in the deck, the 1 copy of Predaplanting, the double Fog Blade, and the 1 Shade Brigandine. This is for the PK package, and this is for your fusion plays sometimes during the opponent's turn. If you set up Super Poly and you use this, this is going to also use as another, another pop. Or this can also be another way to help your Dracostapelia to even put more interruptions. You only need the one-off copy, in my opinion. It's sometimes a cuttable card. If you want to run something else, you can run something else. I just felt like I just wanted 1 copy because I really, really like the card, and I think the Predacounter part of it is really, really strong, and also the fact that it's also able to make your fusion plays better is pretty nice. But that does it for the main deck. Now we'll move on into the extra deck. Now for the extra deck, first and foremost, we're going to start with the Predaplant related monsters, I guess, which are the double copies of Chimera Rafflesia, the one Dragostapelia, the one copy of Starving Venom, the one copy of Trifilium, or whatever his name is, and one copy of Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. This isn't, in my opinion, the lineup that you want to run in your extra deck for all of these. The only one that you want to is Rafflesia because it's come up so many times. The others are either like, board breakers that you can use with Super Poly, which you only need one each, or you can just use them for other things or combos. Now, this specifically, sometimes I miss the second one, but I do have Swamp King, or should I say Mud Dragon, which is enough, so that is fine. I just need 2 cards that help me break board with Super Poly. I do sometimes want to maybe have the second like I said, but most of the time I don't really need to. The only card that I feel like I don't really like that much is this card. It's more for the grind game, as a dark hole that always coming back 3 times. But it's still fine. I don't know, I kind of sometimes have mixed feeling about this. This is a negate against extra deck monsters, also have some nice effects as well, and it's need 3 monsters on field, so if your opponent has 3 darks and you have Super Poly, it's pretty dangerous for them. This is a wipe, and it's pretty good. And then this is your negate going first, which is pretty nice. And this is the card, like I said, is really important, and it's search for you when sent to the graveyard, a fusion spell. But mostly what you care about is that, what you care about going first, but going second, this can also just banish a monster that have a level lower than it, and it can also just make itself 3,500 with the opponent monster losing 1,000 as well. So it's become 3,500, and it's become kind of a really big beat stick, which I like a lot. And then for your other utility, I guess, fusions and Xyz that are not linked yet, we have Mud Dragon over the Swamp, Restrict, and Break Sword. Break Sword is really good because you have level freeze. I sometimes want this to be a Phoenix, but I don't really care about it that much. You have 2 level freeze, you summon this, and then you break, you use its effect to kill itself, and one monster, one floodgates your opponent have or whatever, and there you go. Thousand Eyes Restrict, or should I say Millennium Eyes Restrict, and Swamp King are your, or should I say Mad Dragon, are your instant fusion targets, as well as this card is also a Super Poly target. Although sometimes I do feel, like I said, I don't really need this, so sometimes I do feel like I need the Golem out of Gnister, but most of the time this is all I need for these particular departments as well. But that does it for those, and then for the links, we have the 1 copy of Verte, the 1 copy of Cherubini, the 1 copy of IP, the 1 copy of our Jasmine, I guess, the 1 copy of Rusty, and then the 1 copy of Unicorn. This is the lineup of links that I decided to go with. You can always change these around however you want to. Unicorn and IP is for your going first, your going first 1-card combo with Orphoscorpia plus 2 random cards that you're not able to open up with things like Aegium Chain. So you basically make them and a Rusty with a negate of Fogblade. Sometimes you need to go that route, and that's why I really like it. It's just giving you outs for some particular interruptions. If you're your deck getting interrupted during your phone going first, you're still able to make an IP and have a Unicorn as a play. And then we have Rusty because of the PK stuff. Jasmine is that if you don't, you open up with Cobra in your hand, but you have Kilmasandu, you summon Kilmasandu from deck, you sometimes go into this with the Orphoscorpio, and the Kilmasandu, whatever you summon from your deck, and depending on that, you continue your play, so that's also good for that. Or, for the grind, for turn 3, this is also pretty nice, very much as well. And then this is just, Cherubini is just a great with level 3s. And then Verte is mostly here used as the activator of Super Poly if you need to, and your opponent have a Imperial Order, but you're still able to activate Super Poly because you summon 2 monsters, summon this, and then you activate Super Poly from deck. Now, the other thing about this is that it can also make another monster into Dark on the field, but this card is, funny enough, not as good as its own deck, as in an engine card to help you something like a Dragoon, which is hilarious, which we don't run a Dragoon in our deck, so yeah, there's really nothing to mention about that. But that's pretty much does it for the extra deck and does it for the deck profile. There are some rooms to work here still, but I think the deck overall is really fun, and I hope you enjoy it. But without further ado, let's jump right into the combo section. Welcome to the combo section. In the combo section, I'm going to teach you 3 combos that I think are pretty important for you to know, to basically know how to play the deck in the most, simple way as possible, and kind of teach you on the card interactions. And the first combo is basically the Orpheus Scorpio combo, which requires you to open up with Orpheus Scorpio plus 2 random discards or 2 random cards, one of which should be a monster because of Orpheus Scorpio effect, but the other card could be even a brick because this combo can also fix your PK engine, which you will see what I mean. But this is kind of like what you need to do for the combo. So for the combo itself, we're going to start things obviously with the normal summon of Orpheus Scorpio. Orpheus Scorpio, discard one of your random discards. And then we get to special summon directly from our deck the Darlingtonia Cobra. Cobra effect. We grab the Ultra Polymerization, which is an insanely awesome card. We then activate Ultra Polymerization, paying 2,000, using these 2 from the field. And then we're going to Fusion Summon into a Chimera Rafflesia. We're then going to banish this card from our graveyard, because we control still little fusion monsters and have the 2 targets, and special summon them directly from your graveyard. Next, we're going to use these 2 level 3s. We're going to link into a Cherubini. Okay? Here is pretty much where the combo should diverge if you have the 2-card combo, which we'll explain that when we'll get to the 2-card combo, which is the better combo. But in this particular combo, because we don't really have another extender or something, we're actually going to send from our deck to our graveyard the Edge Imp Sabers, specifically because it's a level 3. We're then going to use Saber's effect to put the random card from our hand to the top of our deck, and then special summon itself from the graveyard. Then we're going to link it off, it and the Cherubini, into a Rusty Bardiche. Use Rusty's effect, send the Ancient Cloak, and then we're going to set the Shade Brigadine. Then we're going to use Ancient Cloak effect, banish it, and add to our hand the Silent Boots. And then we're going to special summon Silent Boots because we control a Phantom Knight monster. And then since we don't control any traps in our graveyard, special summon the Shade Brigadine. We can do it either here or whatever. Then we're going to use these 2, link them off, and we're going to link into an IP Masquerena, and then use Silent Boots effect in our graveyard to add to our hand the, Fog Blade, set it to our side of the field, and then during the standby phase, also search the Super Polymerization for a follow-up. And that's how we're going to end up our board. Now, this particular board needs a little bit of explanation, because there is the option to not go too deep into this and actually just make Appaloosa without the using even the PK engine that much, just saying the Ancient Cloak, search the Shade Brigadine, and just do it like with 2 cards. But when I played Appaloosa pass, I kind of felt like the deck just was really, really weak, because you could do Appaloosa Pass, right? But the problem with Appaloosa Pass is that it's not that hard to break. This, on the other hand, while it's not really have 3 interruptions, it only have 2, it's a lot more complex to break really easily. I'm not saying like it's not easy to break, but you need more than 1 card to break, and that's why I like this board a lot more, because even if your opponent have droplets, you still have this as an interruption. Even if your opponent have, Lightning Storm or a Cosmic Cyclone and want to wipe up the back row, you still have the Unicorn play with these 2, because Unicorn only require 2 monsters with different names. It doesn't say that it cannot be a non-effect monster, but 2 monsters with different name, which Shade Brigadine is a monster, and IP is a monster, because this is treated as a monster when it's in the monster zone. So basically, this is kind of just a really, really nice way to end your board. You also have the follow-up of Super Poly, and you still have the nice end board for this deck. But that does it for combo number 1. Let's move on to combo number 2, which is kind of like a development of this combo. But what happened if you open up with the best discard in your deck? So let's move into it. So, combo number 2. Combo number 2 is basically kind of an extension of combo number 1, or a different route of combo number 1, because instead of opening up with Orpheus Scorpio and 2 random cards that you're able to use as discard or put on the top of your deck, you only need 1 card, which is Edge Imp Chain. And this particular combo is the best 2-card combo that this deck is currently able to perform, without using some weird text and weird stuff. That, like, I'm talking about, like, deck purely as possible. So this is a really, really cool combo and a very, very must-know combo in my opinion. So now let's get started. So to start things off, we're going to normal summon the Orpheus Scorpio and discard the Aegeum Chain, and special summon directly from our deck as combo number 1, the Darlingtonia Cobra. Cobra effect Chainlink 1, Aegeum Chain Chainlink 2, because worst case scenario is of course depending on your hand, but let's say you don't have any fusion spell. Worst case scenario, you're going to end up as combo number 1. But if nothing go awry, you basically get Patchwork and Ultra Polymerization specifically. Now, if you already open up with Ultra Polymerization, you just want the Patchwork and you don't care about this getting negated. But again, it really depends on the rest of the cards in your hand. But because this is a set combo, we're not going to worry about it that much. We then go to activate Ultra Polymerization using these two by paying 2,000 life points as well. And we're going to fusion summon into the Chimera Flesia, as combo number 1, banish this card from our graveyard, and then special summon the 2 targets back, and just like combo 1, link these two because they're 2 level 3s into a Cherubini. Now, unlike combo number 1, we're not going to send the Aegeum Sabers because we're going to search this with Patchwork. Instead, we're actually going to send the Ancient Cloak. Then use Ancient Cloak effect to banish itself, and grab the Shade Brigandine, set Shade Brigandine because we don't have any traps, special summon it, and then use these two to link them off into, you guessed it, Rusty Bardiche. Rusty effect will send the Silent Boots and set 1 Fog Blade to our side of the field, and then we're going to use Silent Boots effect, banish itself, and add to our hand the second Fog Blade and set it to our side of the field. Next, we're going to activate the effect of Patchwork, grab finally the 2 cards that we're missing, which is Aegeum Sabers and Polymerization, and then activate Polymerization, fusion summon with this together into Dracustapilia. And then during the standby phase, grab a Super Polymerization. And also, what's really cool about this is that we also have the setup of this card in our graveyard if we need to use this as an extender, even right now, to then just put it on the top of our deck, a card, and then special summon it. And then let's say we have another extender, we can even make an IP if we want to. It's really, really depend on what we have in our hand, and that's what's really, really cool about this. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the 2-card combo. This is the standard 2-card combo that everybody, in my opinion, should know for Predaplants at the moment. We have the 3 interruptions of monster effects, which are 1, 2, and 3 with a counter. We have a follow-up with the Super Polymerization, and still 3 additional cards in our hand. And like I said, if we have more extenders and more things like that, we can also do cool things with the Aegeum Sabers in our graveyard, which will also add us like an IP or something. But that does it for combo number 2. Let's move on to final combo, which is combo number 3. Alright, so for the final combo, I'm going to share with you what happened if you unfortunately have to lock yourself into fusions for the turn. Sometimes you have to do these kind of things and you don't really have control over it. So in this particular combo, we're going to open up with Klimasandu, Aegeum Chain, and the final card is going to be Predapractice. We are going to be able to get to, of course, Orpheus Scorpio, but we'll not be able to do it before we lock ourselves into only fusions. So you do need to know this combo because sometimes you do need to do these kind of things. So first things first, we're going to activate Predapractice, special summon the Klimasandu from our hand, and then add from our deck to our hand the Orpheus Scorpio. And then since we have Orpheus Scorpio, we're going to normal summon it, discard a chain, and special summon the Cobra from our deck. Cobra Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Chain. We're going to grab Patchwork, and then we're going to grab Ultra Poly. And then we're going to activate Ultra Poly, as always, using these 2 specifically, because this one, you want his effect. And if you are going to use Ultra Poly with this, you are going to summon this with his effect negated, which will not let you use his effect to fusion summon. So you have to use Ultra Poly specifically on these 2. We're going to use these 2 for the Ultra Poly, summon the Chimera Reflegia, and as always, banish the Ultra Poly and summon these 2 targets back. Next, we're going to use the effect of Klimasandu. Use these 2 because you can. Fusion summon. Oh, sorry. You don't use the Kill 'em sound because you need 3 monsters on the field. I forgot. You use these 3 specifically on the field. I forgot. Like, I forgot that this card does it on the field. Use these 3 on the field, and you summon this guy. I forgot that it needs 3 on the field. That's my mistake. And now you activate Patchwork, and you grab the 2 cards that you normally grab. Use the polymerization on these 2, and then summon the, this guy. That's how you do it. And then, of course, during the standby phase, because we use Chimera Rafflesia and it's sent to the graveyard, we're going to grab the Super Polymerization, and that's how you're going to end your board. A monster negate and an extra deck negate, which is pretty nice. So this is still a pretty good end board. It's not like the best thing in the world, but like I said, sometimes you have to do some weird sacrifices or weird things that you're not always able to open up with your best thing, and this is still a pretty decent board. But that does it for the third and final combo, and now let's move on into the next deck choices. Alright, so for the next deck choices, we have the 3 returning options from last week, which are the following: Harpy, Peleos, and Mutants. And then for the 4th and final option, this is a deck that I kind of want to do again, just because I think I just like to do it from time to time, because it's a really, really fun rogue deck. And that is Salamangreats. So for my 4th and final option is going to be Salamangreats, and like I said, Harpy, Peleos, Mutants, and Salamangreats. These are going to be the 4 options for this particular next deck choices. Now I'm going to say right now here is that for next week I'm also going to cover up the Cyber Style Structure deck, the 7 new cards there, because I think there are some particular things I want to talk about these cards, and also create some interesting discussions. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to do next week. But that's pretty much does it for the video, and does it for the deck profile as a whole and everything. So hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know in the comments down below if you have some improvements. Give a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see more. And remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.